What if every decision you made, big or small, had immense power, the power to propel you forward, closer, ever closer, to your ultimate goals, to your highest aspirations? Imagine this moment, the moment you fully grasp that every choice, every action, every turn in your life is not random, but are foundational stones, steadily, surely, building the future you will inhabit. But here's the truth, a truth that might make you pause. Most people drift through life passively, or worse, apathetically, completely unaware that each choice they make, each crossroads they navigate, is actually a turning point, clearly defining their fate. Why settle for stagnation? A life where you feel like a small boat drifting aimlessly on a vast ocean. Why accept the ordinary when you can engineer your very own destiny? How do you shift from a passive state to a state of mastery? The answer, the crucial secret, isn't waiting for all conditions to become perfect, isn't waiting for confidence to spontaneously appear, isn't waiting for luck to knock on your door. The secret is acting as if every decision you make is the decision that changes everything. Acting with the mindset that every step you take, every word you speak, every choice you execute is actively contributing, intentionally contributing to the grand vision of the person you want to become, of the life you yearn to create. The very second you accept, you embrace this mindset, a profound transformation will occur within you. Hesitation, the paralyzing doubt, the greatest enemy of progress, will die. It will be burned away in the fire of clear purpose, and in its place, momentum will become your new reality. This momentum isn't chaotic urgency, but a flowing stream of positive energy, relentlessly pushing you forward. Will you seize complete control, or will you watch others, those who understand this principle, move steadily forward before your eyes? In the next few minutes, throughout this exploration, you will not just understand, but you will discover how to truly transform every decision in your life and into a solid stepping stone, leading you toward unstoppable progress. Take a moment to close your eyes or simply reflect deeply. Imagine, picture it, waking up every single day with an unshakable belief, a conviction that cannot be swayed, that every single choice you make that day, from the smallest task to the biggest endeavor, is actively, intentionally driving you ever closer to your ultimate vision of yourself and your life and when that's your reality, what would that look like for you? Would you move with more confidence, with a more assured presence, full of purpose? Would you choose your words more carefully, each phrase carrying more weight? Would you face challenges with a more determined gaze? Understand this clearly. Acting as if every decision propels you forward is not a simple exercise in shallow positive thinking. It is, and I repeat, it is the detailed blueprint, the scientific and psychological formula to truly manifest, to bring into being the goals you have cherished for so long. How many of us wander through life, crippled by hesitation, shackled by the fear called making the wrong move? We spend hours, days, even years, simply contemplating, overanalyzing, searching for a guarantee that in truth does not exist. But here is the great secret, a paradox that must be grasped. Indecision, in and of itself, is a decision. It is the act of surrendering, yielding your personal power to circumstance, to the external current. When you refuse to make a decision, you are deciding to stand still. You are deciding to accept whatever life brings instead of proactively going after what you want. When you internalize and begin to act as if every decision matters, you no longer have the luxury of hesitation. You no longer have the time to drown in doubt. You transform indecision into momentum, into force. You convert doubt into inner certainty. Why? Because in that state, you are not just making a fleeting choice, you are training your mind at its deepest level to believe that every step you take, no matter how small, carries the weight of the destiny you are creating. It is a silent commitment, an unspoken declaration to the universe that you are actively building your life. Look at the story of Cornelius Vanderbilt, an American business magnate from the 19th century, a man whose life is a powerful testament to this principle. He did not sit idly waiting for market conditions to become perfect to begin his massive ventures. No, he acted as if his investment decisions, his strategic moves, would surely lead to success. And indeed, they did, while others doubted the value and future of steamships, viewing them merely as a risky experiment. Vanderbilt invested in them with absolute conviction, with unwavering certainty. He didn't hope for success. He assumed he would succeed. He acted from the position of one who had already seen, already grasped that success. And it was precisely that assumption, that mindset of acting as if, that became a tangible reality. His confidence and his vision created a magnetic force, drawing everything towards him. This is the core essence of acting as if, transforming simple belief into a living, vibrant, powerful force, a force capable of moving mountains, reshaping realities. It's not just an emotion, it's action based on intentional belief. But be honest with yourself. Ask deep within, how often have you second-guessed your own abilities? How many times have you paused right at the edge of a promising opportunity, paralyzed by a vague fear, afraid that you weren't good enough, afraid that you would make a mistake? Acting as if takes away that luxury called doubt. It forces you to step boldly, to venture into the unknown, to step onto unfamiliar territory out there. And the thing guiding you isn't absolute certainty of the outcome that rarely exists, but your very conviction, your inner belief. The path forward, in principle, is actually very simple. Decide, right now, that every single choice you make from this moment forward is actively and intentionally bringing you closer to what you truly desire. And once you have made that decision, act with the confidence of someone whom you know for certain has already succeeded. Let hesitation, procrastination, vanish and die in the intense fire of your own determination, your resolve, your commitment. When you move, when you act with that kind of powerful purpose, that kind of focused energy, the universe, the resources, the unexpected opportunities have no other choice but to yield, to submit to your will, to your vision, to your action. So, will you choose to act as if every decision is propelling you forward? Or will you allow the tide of doubt, fear, the negative voices from within or from the outside world to wash away your greatest aspirations, your most valuable goals? Another powerful facet of the acting as if mindset is the ability to transform obstacles into stepping stones. Picture it, visualize it in your mind, the obstacles standing in your path. Don't see them as invisible barriers, as impossible walls. See them instead as stepping stones, like firm rocks in a flowing river, helping you move further along. What if every stumble, every moment you face setback, every unexpected challenge that arises isn't an ending, isn't a punishment, but merely a redirection, a signal from life, guiding you, pointing you towards something even greater, something you perhaps would never have discovered if things had simply gone according to your original plan? Acting as if every challenge is part of your design for success is the single most important foundation stone. Building your capacity for resilience, your ability to bounce back stronger after every blow, because in that state, you are not merely enduring, simply coping with hardship. You are advancing. You are actively using that difficulty as a tool. Most people see difficulty as a stop sign. Stop, retreat, give up. But for those who have internalized the mindset of acting as if every challenge is a golden opportunity, the unexpected obstacles are precisely the things that help them sharpen their edge. It is the struggle, the resistance, that makes them stronger, wiser. You have two choices, only two. Either you are a victim of circumstance, letting circumstances define you, letting everything happening outside of you control your life, or you are the master of circumstance, the one who uses circumstance, even the most difficult ones, as a tool to move forward. The choice is yours, and yours alone. Look at the story of Benjamin Disraeli, a man who rose to become Prime Minister of Great Britain, despite countless stumbles, failures, being ridiculed, being dismissed in his early political career. He failed, and failed repeatedly in crushing ways. But instead of retreating, instead of abandoning his great dream, he acted as if each failure was merely just one more step closer to his eventual triumph, to the moment he would hold the highest office in the land. He saw those obstacles not as reasons to surrender, not as proof that he wasn't good enough, but as reasons to sharpen his resolve, to find a different path, to learn invaluable lessons. Consider your own journey. The promotion you missed might have actually saved you from a role where your true talents would have been stifled. The relationship that ended painfully very likely created the necessary space for someone who truly sees, truly cherishes your worth. That crushing business failure surely taught you practical lessons, hard-earned wisdom that no amount of early success could ever have provided. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood this principle deeply. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and also a great sage, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Meaning, the very resistance, the difficulty you face, is what constitutes the journey itself. It shapes you, it teaches you, it tempers you. Modern psychology also confirms this ancient wisdom through research on post-traumatic growth. That's the profound positive transformation, a remarkable development that often occurs after someone overcomes life's greatest challenges, losses, or traumas. So, how do you actively transform obstacles into stepping stones? First, when facing difficulty, pause. Instead of immediately reacting with frustration, disappointment, or fear, consciously ask yourself, what is this obstacle teaching me? Where is it directing me? Just this simple shift in perspective is powerful enough to activate your dormant problem-solving abilities instead of activating defense mechanisms. Avoidance. Second, study the obstacle itself closely, like a river flowing windingly around massive rocks. Find the path of least resistance, but absolutely do not abandon your ultimate destination. Sometimes, an unexpected detour reveals new landscapes, unexpected opportunities that you would never have discovered if you had just stubbornly stuck to the original route. Finally, recognize an important truth. Obstacles serve as a poor filter. They will screen out the uncommitted, those who are only enthusiastic at the beginning. When others see difficulty and retreat, your willingness to persevere, to push through the hardship, becomes your defining competitive advantage. The obstacle itself, instead of being a barrier, becomes the very opportunity for you to rise above, to prove yourself. Reflect for a moment. Right now, how are you viewing the barriers in your life? Are you cursing them? Are you shrinking back in fear? Or are you acting as if each obstacle, each difficulty, is guiding you towards a stronger, wiser, more resilient version of yourself? Acting as if every difficulty is a stepping stone requires extraordinary mental fortitude. But I emphasize, That is precisely the most solid foundation upon which greatness is built. The question remains, will you use the obstacles in your life to elevate yourself and reaching new heights, or will you allow them to define you, to confine you within unnecessary limits? Another direct outcome, when you live with the acting as if mindset, is the ability to build unshakable confidence. True confidence, Guy, is not something you are born with. It is something you build, brick by brick, decision by decision, acting as if every step you take is a firm stride towards your highest, best self, will nurture and strengthen a level of confidence, powerful, unyielding, that nothing can shake. This is not empty arrogance. It is inner assurance. It is the quiet knowing that you are on the right path. Too many people wait for clear proof before they are willing to believe. But here is the paradoxical truth. The proof appears after you believe, not before it. You cannot, I repeat, cannot, sit idly waiting to see the results of success before you are willing to act with confidence. No, confidence is the act of believing, for you can physically see the results with your own eyes. Look at the story of Andrew Carnegie, who built the mighty steel empire in America, an empire that changed the face of industry. He was not born into wealth, nor did he inherit this empire. He acted as if he belonged at the top, before he ever got there. Every handshake, every bold business decision, every potential investment, he acted with extraordinary confidence of a man who already possessed what he desired. It was that mindset, that belief in his destined fate, that forged his empire. He created his reality through action based on belief. The science behind this approach is truly compelling. When you act, when you carry yourself with confidence, your body chemistry changes. The levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, drop, while the levels of testosterone and serotonin, hormones associated with confidence, positive dominance, and feelings of well-being, rise. Your posture changes, your back straighter. Your voice becomes deeper, resonates more powerfully, and most importantly, the people around you react differently to your presence. They sense your energy. They trust you more. The biological reality follows the psychological commitment. So how do you begin to build this confidence through action? First, start with your physical presence. Stand tall, broaden your chest, speak clearly, and move purposefully, with intention. Your body, or more accurately, your primal brain, doesn't know the difference between genuine confidence and confidence displayed through action. It reacts identically to both states, and this reaction creates a powerful, positive feedback loop, gradually transforming the pretense, the acting as if, into reality. Next, consciously, eliminate self-diminishing language. Make a conscious effort to replace phrases like, "I'll try," with "I will." Replace "I hope" with "I know." Replace unnecessary apologies like, "Sorry to bother you," with "Thank you for listening," or "Thank you for your time." The language you use daily is programming your subconscious and simultaneously shaping how others perceive your competence and authority. Finally, purposefully put yourself into challenging situations that frighten you. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, face something intimidating, and survive it, you are building more internal evidence about your capacity to handle uncertainty, to handle pressure. This is precisely the cornerstone, creating unshakable confidence. Now, look back at your own life. How many times have you held back simply because you were waiting for complete certainty, which rarely exists? How often have you doubted your own capacity just because you hadn't seen tangible results from your efforts yet? And acting as if you are destined to succeed eliminates hesitation completely and implants within you a sense of purpose, a belief in your own destiny that no external circumstance can shake. To begin, simply act with the confidence of a person whom you know has already achieved what they desire. When you speak, speak with authority, with clarity. When you move, move with intention, with decisiveness. Let your external actions strongly reflect the inner belief that you are indeed on the path towards your own greatness. So, will you act as if you are destined for success? Or will you keep waiting for proof, which might never appear if you don't act first? Following directly from confidence is the development of the habit of decisiveness. Success rarely favors those who hesitate, who waver. Acting as if every decision matters forces you, in a positive way, to develop, to train the habit of being decisive. When you move with clear purpose, with certainty, you eliminate the paralysis of indecision and replace it with the power of momentum. History remembers and celebrates those who acted, not those who sat still waiting, analyzing endlessly. Recall the story of Elizabeth Blackwell, the first woman to receive a medical degree in America, at a time when medicine was considered a forbidden field, not meant for women. She was told countless times that her dream was unrealistic, that society wouldn't accept women practicing medicine. But she acted as if becoming a doctor was already her destiny. She didn't wait for permission from anyone, from any social institution. She decided her path and moved forward with absolute conviction. It was her decisiveness that opened doors that had seemingly been sealed shut forever, not just for her, but for countless other women to follow. Now, honestly ask yourself, how often do you hesitate when opportunity knocks, when a door opens a crack, full of potential? How many chances have you missed simply because you were waiting for the right time? The truth is, there is no inherently right time. There is only now. There is only the present moment when you can act. Acting as if every decision propels you forward eliminates that final sliver of doubt and empowers, gives you the power to act. This world, or more accurately, life and its opportunities, richly rewards decisive action. Every successful leader, every groundbreaking innovator, every person who creates change shares this common trait. They decide quickly and commit fully to that decision, while others deliberate, analyze, waver endlessly. The few decisive individuals gain precious momentum. This momentum isn't a static force. It creates a powerful forward motion, capable of sweeping aside obstacles, and strangely enough, attracting more unexpected opportunities towards them. Making decisions isn't about making perfect decisions, which is impossible. It's about making timely ones. The universe has a peculiar way of rewarding motion. A decision made today, even if it needs adjusting tomorrow, yields far more results, far more lessons than the most perfect plan that is never executed. Consider this. For every opportunity you hesitate to grasp, rest assured, someone else, someone more decisive, is already seizing it. In business, in relationships, in personal growth, the decisive individual always gains the advantage. They understand that an imperfect decision, executed with conviction, outperforms significantly a perfect plan that is never implemented in reality. To cultivate this habit of being decisive, start with the smallest things. Practice making decisions quickly and with a sense of confidence in everyday situations. Choose a restaurant without reviewing the entire menu, item by item. Select your workout for the day without debating with yourself or weighing too many options. Respond to important messages or emails promptly instead of letting them linger endlessly. Actively program your mind to act with purpose by setting deadlines for your own decisions. Give yourself 30 seconds for small choices, 1 hour for matters of moderate importance, and a maximum of 1 day for major life-altering decisions. This practice is like training your decision-making muscle. It prevents analysis paralysis. When you practice decisiveness consistently, persistently, hesitation will gradually fall away, and magically, opportunities will begin to unfold, revealing themselves right before your eyes. Your confidence will grow with each decision you make, creating a virtuous cycle between action and achievement. So, will you decide right now that you will act with decisiveness, or will you simply wait and watch others, those who dare to decide, pass you by? This choice and all the consequences that follow it are yours and yours alone. Once you have cultivated decisiveness and confidence, the next step is the ability to turn vision into reality. Vision is just a seed. Action is the water, the nutrients that allow that seed to grow and flourish. Acting as if your vision is already a present reality is the sturdiest bridge spanning the deep chasm, separating dreams and reality. When you act as if you are actively lining up perfectly, your thoughts, your words, and your actions, so they are in congruence with that vision. Look at the story of Thomas Edison, a genius. He acted as if his vision of the electric light was not only possible, but was the inevitable outcome. He didn't see his thousands of failed attempts, his thousands of non-working prototypes, as crushing defeats. Instead, he viewed them as stepping stones, necessary, leading him to his ultimate success. He acted, spoke, believed, as if the electric light bulb had already been invented, and it was precisely that persistent belief, that action based on the inevitable nature of his vision, that made it a reality. His confidence and the clarity of his vision were inseparable from his tireless action. How do you treat your greatest dreams? Do you view them as things that will inevitably happen, or do you merely hope that perhaps one day they might become a reality? Acting as if brings your vision into the present moment. It makes that vision feel real, vibrant, alive. Long before it becomes something tangible that you can touch. To do this, speak as if, move as if, believe as if the vision is already reality. This mindset, this energy, creates a powerful magnetic force, attracting the necessary resources, the unexpected opportunities towards you. When you step into the role of your vision with absolute conviction, others notice. They sense the certainty within you, and they are compelled to want to participate, to help, to become a part of the journey you are engineering. Opportunities start appearing, connections are formed, and the pathways, the solutions, the ways to turn that vision into reality reveal themselves that were previously seemingly completely invisible. Acting as if means you make decisions today based on tomorrow's reality, the reality of your completed vision. It means you speak about your vision in the present tense or the perfect tense, as if it has or is currently happening, not just a possibility in the distant future. It means you arrange your living and working environment to reflect what is coming, not just what currently exists. It means you invest your time, energy, and learn the skills you will need when your vision materializes, not just focusing on the skills serving your current situation. To begin, immerse yourself in the sensory details. What does your vision look like? How does it sound? How does it feel? What are the tastes and smells associated with its achievement? Consciously incorporate these elements into your daily routine, no matter how small the actions may seem. Every action taken, that is aligned with the vision, strengthens your belief. It also signals powerfully to both your subconscious and those around you that your vision is unfolding now. Remember that doubt is the assassin of dreams. When uncertainty creeps into your mind, immediately return to your conviction. Return to your belief in the vision. Every great creator, every innovator faces moments of deep doubt, but they refuse. They do not allow those temporary feelings to derail their eternal aspirations. They act as if success is certain, especially when the external evidence seems to point otherwise. Will you act as if your vision is already reality? Or will you wait for the outside world, wait for others to believe in it first? The creators, those who change human history, have never sat waiting for permission or for validation from others. They simply act as if until vision and reality become one, indistinguishable. When you act as if every decision propels you forward, you simultaneously embrace the power of persistence. Understand this clearly. Persistence is not just about pushing yourself, enduring difficult obstacles through sheer willpower. It is about moving forward, stepping onward with unwavering faith, even when the path ahead is completely unclear or hidden. Most people quit not because they lack ability or talent. They quit because they cannot endure the waiting period, cannot tolerate the prolonged uncertainty, the lack of clear evidence of progress. Acting as if every step is progress, even if unseen, completely transforms that feeling of waiting into building. Look at the story of William Wilberforce, a British politician who dedicated his life to fighting for the abolition of the slave trade in the British Empire. He fought tirelessly for decades, facing fierce opposition, seemingly insurmountable failures. Yet, he acted as if victory was inevitable. His persistent belief was ultimately rewarded when the Slavery Abolition Act was passed in 1833, a powerful testament to the strength of unwavering belief and persistent action based on that belief. But when you are met with resistance, when a door slams shut in your face, when a plan collapses, how do you react? Do you falter, or do you act as if persistence is the only option? As if moving forward is simply what must be done? When you view every stumble, every instance of difficulty, as a step forward, as an integral part of the process, you eliminate the illusion of failure as a stopping point. It's not the end. It is the beginning of your refinement process. It is when you learn, adjust, become better. The journey of persistence requires a profound mental shift. You must recognize that most achievements worth pursuing in this life require sustained effort, through uncertainty, through the period of not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. History's greatest accomplishments were built upon countless quiet moments of perseverance, when giving up seemed like the most rational option. Persistence has the ability to transform ordinary talent into extraordinary achievement. The marketplace, the world, is filled with brilliant minds who abandon their vision too early. Your willingness to endure, to keep going when others retreat, becomes your defining competitive advantage. This resilience is what distinguishes between those who merely dream and those who create achievement. The secret to mastering persistence lies in your daily habits. Break overwhelming goals into manageable actions. Eat an elephant one bite at a time. Learn to celebrate small victories that others might overlook. Create systems and routines that make persistence your default response, rather than requiring constant willpower. When fatigue, doubt, discouragement sets in, immediately return to your purpose, to why you started. Your why must be stronger than any why not that might emerge. Remember that persistence isn't blind stubbornness. It requires the ability for strategic adaptation. A persistent mind evaluates results, adjusts its approach, and remains committed to the ultimate destination, while remaining flexible about the specific route taken. This balance between unwavering resolve and tactical flexibility is the hallmark of masterful persistence. In moments of greatest uncertainty, act as if the outcome is already secured. This inner conviction creates a solid psychological foundation supporting you to continue acting despite external evidence that might discourage. Your belief becomes the bridge carrying you through, the valleys of doubt, the difficult phases that will inevitably happen. To master persistence, decide today that quitting is not an option for you. Train your mind to act with relentless faith, moving forward regardless of how the external situation appears. When you adopt this mindset, you transform yourself into a force that cannot be stopped. Will you act as if every step forward matters, even when progress is invisible, even when no one else can see it? A directly related principle, powerfully illustrated by how we choose to act, is the act of elevating your standards. Every choice you make, every compromise you accept, is either contributing to your journey towards greatness or anchoring you to mediocrity. When you act as if each decision shapes your ultimate destiny, you will, by nature, elevate the standards you hold for yourself. This doesn't mean becoming obsessively perfect. It means resolutely refusing to compromise on what truly matters, on the things that make you the person you aspire to be. George Westinghouse, the visionary who championed and developed the alternating current, AC electrical system, when Thomas Edison's direct current, DC, dominated the market. While competitors mocked his approach, Westinghouse operated with unwavering conviction. He didn't just hope AC would succeed, he acted as if its triumph was inevitable. This elevated standard, the standard of a future electrified by alternating current, drove him to relentlessly innovate, developing the technologies that would eventually electrify the modern world. Your standards are not just preferences or wishes, they are predictions about your future. When you demand excellence from yourself, excellence becomes your reality. Conversely, when you tolerate mediocrity, mediocrity becomes your upper limit. Ask yourself a simple question. Would the person you aspire to become, the best version of yourself, would they accept the standards you are maintaining right now? Would they make the compromises you are making daily? Would they invest their time and energy in the way you are? Elevating standards begins with awareness. Take time to look at areas where you know you have been settling, in your work, relationships, health, or personal growth. These compromises often masquerade as practicality or being realistic, but in most cases they are fear in disguise. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of change. Start small. Choose one area where you know you've been accepting less than you deserve or less than your potential. Perhaps it's allowing interruptions during your creative work, tolerating disrespect in a relationship, or rushing through important tasks. Establish a clear new standard and honor it religiously. Your standards create the boundaries around what you will accept and what you will reject. When you elevate these boundaries, you automatically eliminate influences, habits, and relationships that no longer serve your vision. This process requires courage. Raising standards often means saying no more frequently, occasionally disappointing others, and facing your own resistance to change. But the alternative, living below your potential, extracts a far greater price. Each compromise slowly erodes your belief in what is possible for your life. Will you act as if your standards determine your destiny? Because they absolutely do. When you begin to act as if and raise your standards, a powerful next step is embracing the uncomfortable side of growth. Embracing discomfort as a sign of growth. Comfort is the silent killer of potential, the most insidious enemy of progress. When you accept to settle into routines, into habits that demand nothing new from you, growth becomes impossible, not just difficult, but literally unattainable. The human spirit, like muscle tissue, only develops strength when pushed beyond its current capacity. This fundamental truth reveals why embracing discomfort isn't just advisable, but essential for anyone serious about personal transformation. Look at the story of Admiral Horatio Nelson at the Battle of Trafalgar. He faced a superior Franco-Spanish fleet in numbers. According to conventional tactical wisdom, he should have been cautious, maintained his line. However, Nelson didn't just accept the challenge. He amplified it by devising a groundbreaking and completely unconventional battle strategy, ordering his ships to sail directly into the center of the enemy's crossfire. Why? Because he understood that breakthrough achievements demand breakthrough discomfort. His willingness to embrace, even seek, that vulnerability led to Britain's most decisive naval victory, permanently changing the course of European history. This principle transcends military battlefields. Every significant advancement in human history, whether scientific, artistic, philosophical, or personal, emerged from someone's willingness to endure discomfort that others avoided. Einstein's theories weren't born from intellectual ease, but from relentlessly confronting paradoxes that bewildered his contemporaries. Rosa Parks didn't change America by seeking comfort on the back seat of a bus, but by deliberately stepping into the zone of discomfort, the price of that simple act, which transformed a nation. Honestly ask yourself, what uncomfortable conversations are you avoiding? What skills remain undeveloped, simply because the learning process feels awkward or uneasy? What dreams remain unrealized, because pursuing them means accepting the risk of failure or the judgment of others? These questions reveal the invisible boundaries that comfort has erected in your life. When you act as if discomfort is not an obstacle, but a compass, pointing you towards your greatest potential, everything changes. Being rejected becomes redirection. Criticism transforms into refinement, a lesson for improvement. Failure converts into education, experience. The very experiences most people dread the most become the ones you secretly welcome, knowing that they contain the seeds of your personal evolution. This shift in mindset doesn't happen passively. It requires deliberate practice. Actively and consciously, choose the harder path, specifically because it is harder. Start your day with the most challenging task instead of the easiest one. Engage with perspectives, with viewpoints that challenge your way of thinking rather than just reinforcing it. Pursue a physical training regimen that pushes your limits rather than merely maintaining your current capacity. The paradox is beautiful. Those who perpetually seek comfort find themselves increasingly fragile and easily broken. Meanwhile, those who regularly embrace and face discomfort develop remarkable resilience. Your nervous system, quite literally, rewires itself to handle greater challenges when consistently exposed to manageable levels of stress. Masters in every domain understand this principle intuitively. They don't just tolerate discomfort, they actively seek it, knowing that it is the only path to mastery. They have discovered that temporary discomfort trades minutes of initial unease for years, decades even, of increased capacity and strength. Will you continue avoiding what feels difficult, or will you act as if discomfort is your most powerful teacher? The quality of your future depends on this choice. Once you're willing to embrace discomfort and act despite it, you begin to appreciate a key resource in a new way, leveraging time as an ally. Time, the great equalizer, that grants each person exactly 24 hours daily, yet yields dramatically different returns. Some transform these identical hours into vast empires, timeless masterpieces, and legacies that change the world. Others merely watch those hours dissolve into nothingness, leaving behind only regret. The distinction lies not in having time, but in how you perceive it. Do you view time as a dwindling resource to be consumed, or as a powerful ally to be leveraged? James J. Hill, the visionary behind the Great Northern Railway. Without government subsidies that supported his competitors, Hill built a transcontinental railroad that not only survived, but thrived when others failed. His secret wasn't access to more hours than his rivals. It was his relationship with those hours. Hill acted as if each moment carried profound significance, methodically laying tracks mile by mile across America's northern frontier. He didn't merely use time. He invested it with surgical precision, understanding that consistent, purposeful action compounds just as powerfully as interest. This perspective transforms how you approach each day. When you view time as your ally, rather than your adversary, procrastination becomes unthinkable. Why postpone progress when each moment offers an opportunity to advance? The urgency isn't born from anxiety, but from recognition of potential. Each hour holds possibilities that once passed vanish forever. Most people unconsciously adopt a passive relationship with time. They speak of spending time or killing time, language that reveals how they view this precious resource as something to be diminished rather than multiplied. They allow circumstances, notifications from phones, and others' priorities to dictate how their irreplaceable hours are allocated. The alternative requires a radical shift. Treating time as your most valuable investment opportunity. Just as a skilled investor scrutinizes where each dollar goes, you must become equally intentional about where each minute flows. This doesn't mean eliminating leisure or rest. Quite the contrary, it means ensuring that everything, including relaxation, serves your larger vision rather than distracting from it. Begin by conducting a time audit. For 1 week, meticulously track where your hours go. The results often shock even the most disciplined individuals, revealing how unconscious habits consume massive chunks of our lives. Next, establish clear boundaries around your most productive periods. Defend these time blocks with the ferocity of someone protecting their most valuable possession, because that's precisely what they are. Eliminate the false urgency that modern life manufactures. Most emergencies that interrupt your focus aren't emergencies at all. They're merely other people's preferences disguised as priorities. Learn to distinguish between what's truly time-sensitive and what can wait. Paradoxically, leveraging time often means slowing down to speed up. Strategic pauses for reflection prevent the busy work that creates motion without progress. Regular intervals of deliberate thinking ensure you're building the right track, not just building track rapidly in the wrong direction. The compound effect of this approach is staggering. Small, consistent investments of focused time create exponential returns that appear almost magical to outside observers. While others wonder where your lucky break came from, you'll know it emerged from thousands of moments intentionally directed toward your vision. Will you continue surrendering your precious hours to unconscious spending? Or will you transform them into allies, working relentlessly for your future? Underlying the ability to turn obstacles into opportunities, to persist, and to use time effectively is a crucial mental foundation. Cultivating unyielding faith. Faith is not the absence of doubt, but the commitment to action despite doubt. In a world fixated on immediate evidence and instant validation, the ability to maintain unwavering belief in what remains unseen represents perhaps the most powerful force in human achievement. This is not blind optimism. It is the disciplined practice of holding fast to vision, when circumstances scream otherwise, that everything is collapsing. Florence Nightingale, whose conviction transformed modern medicine. Born to privilege in Victorian England, she rejected comfortable aristocracy to pursue what she considered a divine calling to nursing, then viewed as unsuitable work for respectable women. During the Crimean War, she entered squalid military hospitals where mortality rates exceeded 40%. Rather than surrendering to the overwhelming evidence of failure and inability to control, Nightingale acted as if transformation, improvement was inevitable. Her faith wasn't passive hope. It manifested in meticulous data collection, rigorous sanitation protocols, and relentless advocacy. Through her unwavering belief in possibility, mortality rates plummeted to 2%, and the foundations of modern nursing were established. What distinguishes this kind of faith from wishful thinking? It's the combination of unshakable vision with unflinching action. Nightingale didn't just simply believe hospitals could improve. She implemented systems that made improvement inevitable. Her faith created the bridge, spanning the gap between present limitations and future breakthroughs. Faith of this caliber requires deliberate cultivation. It begins with mental discipline, consistently directing your thoughts towards possibility rather than towards limitation. When obstacles arise, train yourself to ask, what is the opportunity hidden within this challenge? Rather than, why is this happening to me? This subtle shift in questioning prevents temporary difficulties from becoming permanent barriers. Equally crucial is surrounding yourself with evidence of possibility. Study those who have accomplished what you desire. Immerse yourself in their journeys, not just their triumphs, but their struggles and how they maintained faith through them. Their stories become fuel when your own reserves run low. Practice speaking, the language of certainty. Eliminate hesitant phrases like, I'll try or I hope to from your vocabulary. Replace them with declarations, I will and I am. This isn't a semantic game. It's neurological programming shaping how you approach challenges. Perhaps most importantly, act as if success is inevitable. Not because you are guaranteed specific outcomes, but because you trust the process of growth itself. True faith acknowledges that, while the exact path may shift, the destination remains fixed. This perspective transforms setbacks from failures into redirections, criticism from discouragement into refinement. This nature of faith creates a powerful paradox. It requires believing in what you cannot yet see, while simultaneously making that invisible vision increasingly visible through consistent action. It demands holding two contradictory truths at once, acknowledging the present reality while acting as if the future reality already exists. Cultivating such faith is not optional for extraordinary achievement. It is essential. As William James said, belief creates the actual fact. Will you have the courage to believe first, so that eventually you can see? And once you've acted, persisted with faith, leveraged time as an ally, and embraced discomfort, you will confront a common yet formidable reality. Conquering fear through action. Fear is perhaps humanity's most ancient mechanism, a biological alarm system that kept our ancestors alive in a world of predators and unknown dangers. Yet, in modern life, that same system often preserves us, not from death, but from our growth. The threats we face rarely endanger biological survival, but our legacy, our potential, and our fulfillment hang in the balance when we allow fear to dictate our choices. Harriet Tubman, whose story transcends ordinary courage. After escaping slavery herself, she could have remained safely in Philadelphia, embracing her hard-won freedom. Instead, she returned to slave territory 19 times, risking recapture, torture, and execution to lead others to freedom. With a $40,000 bounty on her head, each journey represented a deliberate choice to act despite overwhelming fear. Tubman wasn't fearless. She simply refused to let fear make her decisions for her. She famously stated, "I was free, and they should be free also." This distinction is crucial. Conquering fear doesn't mean eliminating it. It means preventing it from controlling your actions. Fear itself is neither negative nor positive. It is merely information. The question is, what will you do with this information? The paradox of fear is that it diminishes not through excessive analysis or preparation, but through direct confrontation. You cannot think your way out of fear. You must act your way through it. Each action taken despite fear weakens its hold, creating evidence that contradicts its warnings. This is why even small acts of courage yield disproportionately high psychological returns. They begin dismantling the belief system that sustains your limitations. Begin by identifying the physical manifestations of your fear, the tightness in your chest, the accelerated heartbeat, the mental chatter generating worst-case scenarios. Simply recognizing these symptoms creates distance between you and the fear. You have fear rather than being fear. This distinction creates space for choice. Next, reframe fear as excitement. Physiologically, they are nearly identical states. The difference lies entirely in mental interpretation. Both involve elevated heart rate, heightened awareness, and increased energy. By consciously relabeling these sensations as evidence of excitement rather than danger, you transform what was once debilitating into fuel for action. Most powerfully, adopt the practice of fear setting rather than just goal setting. Deliberately articulate your fears, identifying the worst possible outcomes of taking action. Then systematically evaluate the likelihood of these outcomes, their permanence, and your ability to recover if they occur. This exercise typically reveals that what we fear is rarely as catastrophic, likely, or permanent as our mind suggests. The ultimate conquest of fear comes not from its absence, but from the discovery that you can act powerfully while it is present. This realization that fear need not equal paralysis creates an unshakable foundation for bold living. You become dangerous to the old status quo, immune to manipulation through fear, and capable of achieving things others dismiss as impossible. Will you continue allowing fear to shrink your life into comfortable insignificance? Or will you use it as a compass pointing towards your greatest contribution? Fear is often most deeply rooted when our environment doesn't support us. That is why, after facing fear, we need the principle of designing your environment to support success. Your environment speaks to you in 1,000 subtle whispers throughout each day, programming your subconscious and shaping your choices without your conscious awareness. Like water, gradually carving a canyon, these influences may seem insignificant in any single moment, yet their cumulative impact determines the trajectory of your life. When you recognize this power, you shift from being a passive product of your surroundings to becoming their deliberate architect. Consider Booker T. Washington's creation of Tuskegee Institute in 1881. Born into slavery and facing the oppressive reality of post-Civil War Alabama, Washington understood that environment wasn't merely a backdrop. It was either a catalyst or a constraint for transformation. Beginning with nothing but an abandoned plantation, he meticulously crafted an educational environment that embodied excellence at a time when everything around it suggested limitation. Students didn't just learn academics. They built the campus with their own hands, creating physical evidence that their futures could transcend their circumstances. Washington designed not just buildings, but an atmosphere of possibility, which produced generations of leaders when the external environment insisted on subservience. Begin your environmental redesign by conducting a thorough audit. Examine your physical spaces. Does your home office inspire focused work or distracted browsing? Does your bedroom promote restorative sleep or mindless scrolling? Next, evaluate your digital environment. Do your notification settings interrupt deep thought? Does your social media feed elevate your thinking or amplify your anxieties? Finally, assess your social environment. Do your 5 closest relationships reflect where you're going or where you've been? The insights from this audit often reveal uncomfortable truths. The gap between your aspirations and your current environment explains why willpower alone has proven insufficient for lasting change. No amount of motivation can permanently overcome an environment designed to sabotage your goals. The solution requires strategic elimination before addition. Remove temptations rather than trying to resist them. Stop following influences that trigger comparison rather than inspiration. Distance yourself from relationships that anchor you to outdated versions of yourself. Create empty space before trying to fill it with more aligned alternatives. Then, systematically, engineer environmental triggers that make optimal behaviors nearly automatic. Place your running shoes by the door if you're building a fitness habit. Position books visibly throughout your home if you're cultivating intellectual growth. Create dedicated spaces for creation that contain nothing associated with consumption, like TVs, social media, if your goals involve producing rather than merely absorbing. Perhaps most critically, curate your social environment with uncompromising selectivity. The research is clear. You will become the average of the 5 people with whom you spend the most time. Their standards become your normal. Their limitations often become your ceiling. Choose these influences not based on comfort or history, but on alignment with the trajectory you wish to travel. Remember that environment design isn't a one-time project, but an ongoing practice. As your goals evolve, your surroundings must transform accordingly. The environment that supported your growth yesterday may constrain your expansion tomorrow. Will you continue allowing random circumstances to shape your life's direction, or will you assume the architect's role, deliberately designing spaces, relationships, and influences that make your highest aspirations not just possible, but inevitable? Designing the right environment leads naturally to cultivating an essential quality: mastering self-discipline. Self-discipline is the invisible architecture supporting every monumental achievement in human history. While talent creates potential and inspiration ignites possibility, only discipline transforms them into tangible reality. The capacity to direct your actions according to your highest intentions, especially when immediate desires pull you elsewhere, represents the fundamental difference between those who merely dream and those who manifest. Look at John D. Rockefeller, whose disciplined approach to life began long before his name became synonymous with unprecedented wealth. As a young clerk earning modest wages, he meticulously recorded every penny of income and expenditure in a small ledger he called Ledger A. While most of his peers spent freely, Rockefeller systematically saved and invested, regardless of how insignificant the amount seemed. He attended to business matters with clockwork regularity, avoided debt religiously, and maintained rigid personal habits, rising at the same early hour and following identical morning routines for decades, long before such practices became popular wisdom. What is particularly instructive about Rockefeller's discipline wasn't its presence during his success, but its unwavering consistency before any evidence of extraordinary achievement materialized. He didn't develop discipline after becoming successful. His success emerged as the inevitable consequence of disciplined action sustained over decades. Even as his wealth grew to unprecedented levels, his methodical self-management remained unchanged, a testament to understanding that discipline isn't a temporary strategy, but a fundamental operating system. This pattern repeats across domains. Olympic athletes maintain training schedules whether they feel motivated or not. Literary giants produce words daily, regardless of inspiration's presence. Transformative leaders make difficult decisions based on principles rather than convenience. Their greatness isn't built on occasional heroic efforts, but on the compound effect of disciplined choices made consistently when no one is watching. The paradox of self-discipline is that while it appears constraining, it actually creates unprecedented freedom. By developing the ability to direct your actions regardless of emotional fluctuation, you gain independence from the tyranny of impulse. You become capable of sustained effort toward meaningful goals rather than remaining captive to momentary desires, a liberation that the undisciplined never experience. Begin cultivating this transformative quality by recognizing that motivation is fundamentally unreliable. It fluctuates based on sleep quality, hormonal cycles, recent experiences, and countless other variables beyond your control. Discipline, by contrast, functions as a decision made in advance, a commitment to specific actions regardless of how you feel when the moment arrives. Implement this understanding by establishing non-negotiable protocols for your most important activities. These aren't merely routines, but sacred commitments. Whether it's a morning writing practice, strategic planning sessions, or physical training, these commitments receive the same unquestioned adherence as would a meeting with your most important client or mentor. Address the inevitable resistance by focusing on initiation rather than completion. The most challenging aspect of disciplined action is rarely the activity itself, but overcoming the initial reluctance to begin. Commit to just 5 minutes, knowing that momentum typically carries you further once you've started. Track your adherence to these commitments with meticulous attention. What gets measured improves almost automatically, as awareness creates accountability. A simple check mark on a calendar for each day you honor your commitment creates a visual chain you'll become increasingly reluctant to break. Perhaps most importantly, develop a relationship with discomfort. The disciplined individual doesn't avoid discomfort, but develops the capacity to function effectively within it. This isn't masochism, but pragmatism. The recognition that meaningful growth always occurs at the edge of your comfort zone. Will you continue drifting according to the path of least resistance? Or will you harness discipline's transformative power to architect your life according to your highest vision? Closely linked to self-discipline is the power of commitment. Commitment is the invisible force that transforms mere potential into extraordinary reality. When you truly commit to a vision, you create an unshakable foundation upon which everything else builds. This isn't casual interest or conditional dedication. It's an absolute devotion, eliminating indecision and hesitation from your psychological landscape. Isambard Kingdom Brunel, whose commitment revolutionized 19th century engineering. When creating the Great Western Railway, he didn't merely build transportation. He committed to fundamentally transforming how humans experience distance. This unwavering vision manifested in innovations like the broad-gauge railway, which enabled unprecedented speed and comfort. When designing the Clifton Suspension Bridge, he committed not just to spanning a gorge, but to creating a structure of such elegance and durability that it continues carrying traffic nearly 2 centuries later. His commitment wasn't to temporary solutions, but to reshaping what was possible. The distinction between interest and commitment is profound yet subtle. Interest says, "I'll try this until something better comes along." Commitment declares, "I will find a way, no matter what obstacles emerge." Interest is conditional. Commitment is absolute. Interest fluctuates with circumstances. Commitment remains steadfast regardless of external conditions. This distinction explains why so many begin journeys of transformation, yet so few complete them. Most approach their most important aspirations with interest rather than commitment. They start businesses, relationships, health regimens, or creative projects with enthusiasm, only to abandon them when inevitable challenges arise. True commitment is not tested during easy moments, but revealed during trials. Transform your relationship with obstacles by viewing them not as reasons to abandon your path, but as opportunities to demonstrate your commitment. Each challenge overcome becomes evidence, strengthening your self-concept as someone who persists regardless of circumstance. Most importantly, understand that commitment isn't just about reaching destinations, but about who you become during the journey. Through unwavering dedication to worthy pursuits, you develop character qualities that serve every aspect of your life: resilience, integrity, discipline, and courage. Will you continue approaching your most important aspirations with conditional interest? Or will you harness the transformative power of absolute commitment? A common hurdle for those who dare to commit and act is overcoming the need for external validation, leading to becoming immune to criticism. Criticism is the tax paid for distinction, for standing out. The very moment you step beyond the boundaries of conventional thought or action, you inevitably attract judgment from those who remain safely within those boundaries. This reality has derailed countless great visions. Brilliant ideas abandoned, voices silenced, innovations halted, not because they lacked merit, but because their creators lacked the capacity for immunity to criticism. Mary Seacole, who confronted the dual prejudices of racism and sexism in Victorian England. When the British War Office rejected her application to nurse soldiers in the Crimean War, she didn't retreat. She personally financed her journey to Crimea. There she established the British Hotel, providing care for wounded soldiers on the battlefield despite bureaucratic opposition and social condemnation. Seacole understood that awaiting universal approval meant perpetual inaction. Her inner conviction outweighed external criticism, allowing her to serve when formal institutions said she couldn't. Developing immunity to criticism begins with understanding its nature. Criticism generally reveals more about the critic than the criticized. Those most vocal about others' endeavors are typically least engaged in meaningful pursuits themselves. This isn't coincidental. Creating requires courage that criticizing does not. The anonymous crowds disparaging Seacole's efforts contributed nothing to the soldier she saved. Next, to distinguish between constructive feedback and empty criticism. Feedback is specific, actionable, and offered with genuine intent to improve. Criticism is vague, generalized, and primarily serves the critic's emotional needs. Learn to welcome the former while developing imperviousness to the latter. Remember that history's most transformative figures all endured scathing criticism. Gandhi was called a seditious fanatic. Einstein's theories were dismissed as absurd, and Martin Luther King Jr. was labeled an extremist by moderate contemporaries. Had they adjusted their visions to accommodate critics, humanity would have lost their invaluable contributions. Recognize that criticism often correlates with impact. Inconsequential actions rarely attract significant opposition. When criticism intensifies, it frequently signals that your work is challenging established norms, precisely what meaningful change requires. Develop a relationship with your critics that neither ignores their existence nor grants them control over your actions. Acknowledge criticism without internalizing it. Consider its validity without being defined by it. Extract any valuable insights while discarding the emotional charges attached to them. Perhaps most importantly, clarify your core values and measure your actions against them, rather than against public opinion. This internal validation system provides stability amidst the shifting winds of external judgment. Will you continue allowing the fear of criticism to constrain your contribution? Or will you develop the immunity that enables unprecedented freedom of thought and action? The ability to withstand criticism, along with commitment and discipline, allows you to make full use of another powerful mental tool: harnessing the power of visualization. Visualization isn't merely a feel-good exercise, but a powerful neurological programming tool with profound scientific backing. When you vividly imagine achieving your goals, your brain forms the same neural patterns as when you physically perform the actions. This mental rehearsal creates a cognitive framework that guides your decisions, heightens your ability to recognize opportunities, and primes your nervous system for success. Emmeline Pankhurst, who led the British women's suffrage movement when female voting rights seemed utterly impossible. In an era when women were considered property rather than citizens, Pankhurst visualized an entirely different reality. She didn't merely hope for change. She mentally inhabited a world where women's political equality was established fact. This wasn't wishful thinking, but strategic cognitive positioning. By repeatedly visualizing women casting votes and holding political power, she programmed her mind to recognize pathways toward this reality that others couldn't perceive. This unwavering mental picture sustained her through imprisonment, force feedings, and public ridicule, ultimately helping secure voting rights for British women in 1918. Effective visualization involves far more than casual daydreaming. It requires tools engaging all sensory dimensions. Seeing the environment in vivid detail, hearing the sounds, feeling the emotions, even experiencing the scents and tastes associated with achievement. This multisensory immersion creates what neuroscientists call embodied cognition, where your brain and body can't fully distinguish between vivid imagination and actual experience. Begin practicing strategic visualization by creating a dedicated ritual. Spend 10 minutes daily in a quiet space, free from distractions. Start by relaxing your body and quieting your mind through deep breathing. Then construct your vision with architectural precision, building each sensory element until the experience feels tangibly real. Let her visualize not just the achievement itself, but also overcoming the specific obstacles you anticipate. This mental problem-solving creates neural pathways that activate when you encounter these challenges in reality. Importantly, pair visualization with immediate action. The most powerful visualization ends with seeing yourself taking the very next step required, then physically taking that step upon completing the exercise. This creates an unbreakable link between mental rehearsal and physical implementation. Use physical anchors to reinforce your visualization throughout the day. Create a vision board with images representing your goals, or select a small object that symbolizes your vision to carry with you. These tangible reminders trigger the neural pattern established during your visualization practice, maintaining neurological alignment with your goals amid daily distractions. Will you continue navigating life with an undefined mental map, or will you harness visualization's power to program your nervous system for inevitable success? As you persistently work towards your vision, embracing discomfort and practicing visualization, there will inevitably be moments of apparent failure or setback. That's when you must learn to turn setbacks into setups. Every journey of significance contains moments that appear to be endings, but are actually pivotal redirections. These setbacks, rejections, failures, obstacles, these do not represent the termination of your vision, but rather essential calibration points that refine both your approach and your character. When you develop the perspective to view these moments as setups rather than shutdowns, you transform what breaks others into what builds you. Charles Goodyear, whose decade-long quest to create useful rubber seemed an exercise in futility. For years he endured bankruptcy, imprisonment for debt, and ridicule as he produced rubber samples that melted in summer heat and cracked in winter cold. Conventional wisdom would label such persistent failure as evidence to abandon the pursuit. Yet, in 1839, when Goodyear accidentally dropped rubber mixed with sulfur onto a hot stove, he discovered vulcanization, the process that made rubber stable and launched industries from automobiles to aerospace. His failures weren't wasted time, but necessary iterations leading to breakthrough. Develop this mindset by immediately asking better questions. When facing setbacks, rather than, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of, "How could I have avoided this?" ask, "How can I leverage this?" These questions transform your relationship with adversity from victim to strategist. Recognize that history's most significant breakthroughs often emerge directly from apparent failures. Penicillin was discovered when Alexander Fleming's bacterial experiments were ruined by mold. Post-it notes resulted from a failed super-strong adhesive project. The microwave oven was invented when a researcher's chocolate bar melted near radar equipment. These weren't merely fortunate accidents, but the result of minds trained to see opportunity in unexpected outcomes. Practice immediate pivoting when setbacks occur. Allow yourself a strictly limited window for disappointment, perhaps 24 hours, then deliberately shift to opportunity identification. Document at least 3 potential advantages or lessons embedded within the setback. This practice builds the neural pathways that automatically transform obstacles into opportunities. Perhaps most importantly, recognize that while setbacks develop capacities within you that success cannot, resilience, adaptability, humility, and innovative thinking emerge not from smooth paths, but from navigating difficult terrain. These qualities ultimately prove more valuable than whatever immediate goal was temporarily delayed. Will you continue allowing setbacks to define your limits, or will you transform them into the very foundation of unprecedented growth? As you persist, transforming setbacks into setups, it requires a virtue that in this age is increasingly rare. Developing ironclad patience. Patience is not passive waiting, but active persistence through time. The rare ability to maintain unwavering commitment when results remain invisible. In an age of instant gratification, true patience has become revolutionary, separating those who create lasting impact from those who chase fleeting opportunity. Samuel Morse, whose development of the telegraph illustrates patience's transformative power. Before creating the communication system that would collapse distance and revolutionize human connection, Morse endured years of setbacks. Having abandoned a promising painting career to pursue his vision, he faced ridicule, financial hardship, and countless technical failures. For 12 grueling years, he refined his invention while simultaneously developing the code language that bears his name, Morse code. During this period, no external evidence suggested his eventual success. Yet Morse maintained what might be called active patience, continuing to refine, improve, and persevere without the validation of results. This steadfastness ultimately transformed global communication, with the first telegraph message fittingly reading, "What hath God wrought?" The distinction between genuine patience and mere waiting lies in ongoing action. Waiting is passive hope. Patience is active faith expressed through persistent effort. Morse didn't merely wait for success, he worked methodically toward it, understanding that significant achievements require developmental timelines that cannot be rushed. The paradox about patience explains why so many abandon promising endeavors prematurely. Studies show that most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a day, while dramatically underestimating what they can achieve in a year of consistent effort. We become impatient precisely when continued patience would yield breakthrough. Developing ironclad patience begins with establishing accurate timelines for meaningful achievement. When pursuing significant goals, deliberately map backwards from achievement to present, researching how long similar accomplishments typically require. Most people abandon ship exactly halfway through the necessary journey, mistaking the middle for the end. Perhaps most importantly, cultivate an identity as someone characterized by patience. Rather than viewing patience as something you occasionally practice, embody it as a defining quality. This identity-level commitment transforms patience from a temporary strategy to an integral part of your character. Will you continue abandoning worthy pursuits when results lag behind effort? Or will you develop the ironclad patience that transforms initial failure into inevitable success? When you practice discipline, commitment, and patience, every small action accumulates. That's when you discover the final principle in this journey: building momentum through small wins. Success rarely arrives in dramatic breakthroughs, but accumulates through consistent, incremental advances, a principle understood by all who achieve extraordinary outcomes. Each small victory, however simple it may seem, creates neurological, psychological, and practical momentum, propelling you towards increasingly significant achievements, provided you recognize and leverage these small moments correctly. George Eastman, who transformed photography from a complex technical process into a household activity through relentless incremental improvement. When Eastman began, photography required bulky equipment, glass plates, and specialized knowledge. Rather than attempting a revolutionary leap, he implemented a series of modest innovations, first creating dry plates that eliminated the need for immediate development, then developing film rolls to replace glass plates, later simplifying camera design, and finally introducing the iconic Kodak camera with its revolutionary slogan, "You press the button, we do the rest." Each advancement built directly upon the previous one, creating momentum that eventually democratized photography worldwide. The science behind this approach is compelling. Neurologically, each small win releases dopamine, creating a natural reward system that motivates continued action. Psychologically, these victories build self-efficacy, your belief in your ability to accomplish goals, creating a positive feedback loop that encourages increasingly ambitious targets. Practically, each small win generates resources, knowledge, and positioning that enable larger subsequent achievements. To harness this power, begin by breaking larger aspirations into their smallest viable units. Instead of focusing exclusively on writing an entire book, celebrate completing a single page. Rather than fixating on building a successful business, acknowledge securing your first customer. These small milestones provide the neurological fuel necessary for sustained motivation. Document each small win in a dedicated victory journal. This practice makes progress visible when larger goals remain distant, creating tangible evidence of forward movement. During inevitable plateaus, reviewing this record reminds you of the momentum you've already generated, preventing discouragement from halting your progress. Implement deliberate celebration rituals. Following each small win, these needn't be elaborate. Perhaps a moment of reflection, sharing with a supporter, or a small personal reward. These rituals anchor the achievement in your memory and reinforcement systems, strengthening the neural pathways that drive productive behavior. Strategically sequence your goals to create cascading momentum. Identify which small wins naturally lead to others, creating chains of achievement that build upon themselves. This approach transforms isolated victories into interconnected progress. Perhaps most importantly, shift your attention from distant summits to the next achievable step. While maintaining awareness of your ultimate vision, focus your working energy on the immediate next win, the one within reach. This present moment attention prevents overwhelm while ensuring consistent forward movement. Will you continue fixating on distant breakthroughs while overlooking the small victories available daily? Or will you harness the transformative power of momentum through incremental achievement as you integrate these principles, acting as if building confidence, decisiveness, transforming vision into reality, persistence, elevating standards, embracing discomfort, leveraging time, cultivating faith, conquering fear, designing your environment, mastering self-discipline, embracing commitment, becoming immune to criticism, harnessing visualization, turning setbacks into setups, developing patience, and building momentum through small wins, you arrive at a state of powerful inner certainty, living as if success is certain. The certainty of success is not a vague emotional state, but a strategic position, a deliberate stance that alters how you perceive challenges, make decisions, and allocate your energy. When you operate from this position, you activate what psychologists call a self-fulfilling prophecy, where your expectations literally help create the conditions that fulfill them. It's not magical thinking, but a practical approach to achievement that completely transforms your relationship with obstacles. Nikola Tesla, whose relationship with certainty produced innovations we still rely on today. While working as an employee under Thomas Edison, Tesla envisioned an alternating current, AC electrical system that contradicted his boss's direct current, DC approach. Despite Edison's ridicule and active opposition, Tesla maintained absolute certainty in his vision. This wasn't mere stubbornness, it was strategic conviction that enabled him to persist through poverty, sabotage campaigns, and widespread skepticism. Tesla didn't just simply hope AC would work. He operated as if its success was predetermined, which gave him the resilience to overcome extraordinary obstacles. Today, the electrical grid powering our world runs on the AC system he envisioned with such certainty. This certainty manifests in subtle but powerful ways. When you're certain of success, you interpret setbacks differently, not as evidence of potential failure, but as navigational data guiding you toward your inevitable destination. You ask better questions when facing obstacles, not, "Should I continue?" but, "How must I adjust my approach?" This shift in perspective prevents the energy drain of continually reconsidering your fundamental direction. Certainty also transforms how you allocate resources. Those uncertain of success hesitate to fully commit their time, energy, and capital, creating precisely the conditions that prevent the very success they desire. Certainty eliminates this self-sabotage, allowing you to deploy resources with the conviction necessary for breakthrough results. Begin cultivating this certainty by speaking definitively about your vision. Eliminate tentative language like "I'll try" or "I hope to" from your vocabulary. Replace them with declarations, "I will" and "I am." This isn't a linguistic game, but neurological programming that shifts your identity and actions. Next, conduct a pre-mortem on your success. Rather than imagining what might go wrong, visualize your success as completed, then work backwards to identify what must have happened to make it inevitable. This exercise creates a detailed roadmap while reinforcing the certainty that your destination is fixed. Only the specific route remains to be determined. Perhaps most powerfully, identify references. People who achieved similar outcomes to what you seek. Study their journeys in detail, recognizing that if success was possible for them, it's equally accessible to you with sufficient commitment and strategic adjustment. Will you continue approaching your most significant aspirations with tentative hope, or will you adopt the transformative certainty that converts obstacles into stepping stones toward your inevitable success? Your future is shaped by the decisions you make today. Act as if every choice matters, because it does. Take charge, move with purpose, and watch your life transform step by step. The path to greatness begins with a single decision. Make it count. Make it powerful. Make it now.